Verstappen lining up for the 5 red lights, and away we go after an absolute eternity. We are away for the 2015 season. But Verstappen just struggling out of the final corner. In these early stages, he just doesn't seem to be at ease with the car. But he's got a puncture. He's just pushed these tyres too far. He hasn't been on them for that long, but that is awful luck. Maybe try and get the undercut here, and yes he does. What a fantastic little switch back there from the Dutchman, showing his aggression. Verstappen comes round the final corner where he's driven superbly this weekend but hasn't got his rewards. P13 for the Dutchman in a very, very disappointing Grand Prix. What's up guys, and welcome to the Road to Red Bull. Yes, we are back for round number 2. It's time for the Malaysian Grand Prix. And well, we have got a cracker of a race in store for you guys today, hence the slightly longer video. But this is in fact the start of career mode week. Yes, I'm going to be bringing you guys 4 episodes of the Road to Red Bull this week. And that is actually a promise, because I've actually got them all edited and ready to produce. So yeah, no false promises for you guys this week. But I'll tell you what, it's only going to work with you guys. You know, if you guys want this series, then let me know down in the comment section down below. And if we can hit 200 likes, then I will release the Chinese Grand Prix, which is the next race, of course, in the calendar. Yeah, if we can hit 200 likes, I'll release that straight away. But well, without further ado, it's time for the Malaysian Grand Prix, and it's time to get into qualifying. So the qualifying hour was about to get underway here in Malaysia, and the rain had managed to hold off, with the sun expected to break through before too long here in Malaysia. And there you can see Roberto Merhi, for the second week running, will be bringing up the rear of the field. He'll start from 20th on Sunday's race, with Sergio Perez not that much further up the field. He could only manage 18th in his Force India, and starting just ahead of him was going to be Fernando Alonso in another torrid weekend for the McLaren Honda team. He could only manage 17th, with Daniel Kvyat sharing the 8th row of the grid with Alonso. The Red Bull driver eliminated in 16th in an awful session for him, but Max Verstappen managed a fantastic session and got 3rd, in fact, at the time in the session. But there you can see the eliminated drivers. It was going to be Kvyat, Alonso, Perez, Stevens and Merhi all eliminated at the first hurdle in qualifying. Now getting into Q2, you can see that Carlos Sainz Jr. could not quite make it into Q3, and for the second successive race running, he'd be lining up 12th for Sunday's race. And Marcus Ericsson also couldn't quite get into Q3. He could only get 11th in his Sauber, but Nico Hülkenberg managed to get through into Q3, and although his teammate had a horrible qualifying, Hülkenberg was flying the flag for Force India, and so was Romain Grosjean for Lotus. After a torrid weekend in Australia, the Frenchman managed 7th position in Q2, and here you can see Verstappen coming across the line for his second time lap in Q2. That was good enough to see him into the final session of qualifying. There you can see the eliminated drivers would be Marcus Ericsson, Carlos Sainz, Pastor Maldonado, Felipe Nasr and Jenson Button, who took a strange decision to go onto the prime tyres. But in Q3, it was the story of Nico Rosberg once again. The Mercedes driver was imperious in Q3 and took pole position for the second race running. And this race, he'd be sharing the front row with Kimi Raikkonen. The Ferrari driver managed a fantastic lap to get onto the front row of the grid. And also putting in a fantastic lap was Daniel Ricciardo. He managed 4th for Red Bull in a good session for him. But it wasn't such a good session for his former teammate Sebastian Vettel, who wasn't quite settling into Ferrari just yet. He could only manage 10th in the session. And here you can see Max Verstappen on his final flying lap of the session, currently lying just behind Daniel Ricciardo at this stage in Q3. And there you can see he's actually down through sector 1, but he is in fact up after the second sector, but the final sector is where he's been losing a lot of time to the front runners. Let's see what it can be this time. You can see him here coming towards the line. He does improve on his previous best, and here is the grid for Sunday's race. Sebastian Vettel and Felipe Massa will be lining up on row 5, with Nico Hülkenberg and Romain Grosjean surely impressed with their efforts in 8th and 7th respectively. Verstappen and Bottas would be lining up on row 3, with Ricciardo and Hamilton on the second row, but it was Raikkonen and Rosberg on the front row of the grid for the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Okay then Max, we're expecting light rain to be with us for a good chunk of this race, so make sure you go easy at the start of the race. We don't want you crashing out.
Well, some useful advice there from the team on the radio, and here we can see Nico Rosberg in his car, and it is light rain that has greeted the drivers today for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Rosberg will in fact be starting from pole position, as we heard in the qualifying report. And now we can see the strategy that the team are recommending. They're saying it's going to be a two-stop race, but I don't believe the rain will be with us for the whole race, so it'll be interesting to sort of see how that strategy does unfold, but that is for later on in the race. Now is the time for the start of the Malaysian Grand Prix. It is 5 lights, and away we go for the second race of the season. Verstappen, unsurprisingly, getting a lot of wheel spin off the line. You can see us here getting mugged off the line by Roman Grosjean, already down into P7 and going down into turn 1 now. Are we going to try and do it round the outside of Grosjean? You can just see here, we're going to have the inside line for turn 2, diving down the inside and nearly hitting the back of Daniel Ricciardo. We've got a header of Grosjean, who is in fact spun out. That is awful luck. We're going to take a replay of the start in the minute and maybe find out to see if anyone was at fault for that. But now at the moment you can see Verstappen here going down the inside of Ricciardo and Raikkonen, who's had an awful start in what was a great grid position for the Finn, but you can see he's already down into P6, and Verstappen has had a great start. He's already up into P4 and now behind Valtteri Bottas, who will surely be looking to try and keep pace with in this first sort of segment of the race, I guess you could say. And well, the intermediate conditions look as if they're definitely suiting Verstappen at the moment, and coming now towards the end of the second sector, he's built up a decent gap over the cars behind. But now we're going to take a replay of the start. You can see here Hamilton gets a great start on Kimi Raikkonen, already getting alongside him, and then Verstappen getting a lot of wheel spin already behind, well, a couple of cars. In fact, the Williams car of Felipe Massa, I think that is, also takes a look down the inside. But this is the interesting part. You can see Verstappen taking a dive down the inside, nearly going in to the back of Ricciardo, and then, well, Grosjean just runs out of track and spins, and he's in fact demoted down into last position. Here you can see it from his perspective. Yep, he just gets completely squeezed out, nowhere that he can go. And while that, after a great qualifying for him as well, he's just completely spoilt and ruined that, so he'll be down in at last position for the meantime. But anyway, skipping towards the end of lap 4, and here you can see Verstappen coming across the line. He's actually managing to keep pace with Valtteri Bottas, but the car behind him, the other Finnish driver on the grid, well, he's going to take a look at Verstappen going into turn 1, and Raikkonen there. Is he going to make a move on the Dutchman? Yes, he is. Well, Verstappen's in fact run out wide, which doesn't help the cause, but he is going to have the inside line for turn 2, and he just dives down the inside. That's very reminiscent of what he did on lap 1 of the Grand Prix, so he holds his position for the meantime. But come the end of lap 5, it looks as if he's made a few inroads on Valtteri Bottas ahead, but once again Raikkonen is hanging in the slipstream of Verstappen behind. Still no DRS in fact active at this stage of the race, I must add, but Raikkonen now, he's just hanging behind and maybe going to take a look down the inside. Verstappen once again runs out wide to try and get the inside line for turn 2, but this time Raikkonen looks as if he's committed. No, he hasn't quite got the position, or he has now, because he's got much superior traction. Up into P4 is Kimi, but they're looking in the rear view mirror of Raikkonen. Verstappen is not done there, surely, and is he going to take a look, in fact, down the inside? Yes, he does, into turn 4. Moving back up into 4th position, so back where he was and back where we started, but a great battle nonetheless.
Okay, I need you to box. Let's go for the undercut, mate. We think we found a gap for you.
Yep, there you can hear on the team radio that, well, the Toro Rosso team think that they've in fact found a little bit of a gap to put Verstappen into. So I believe we're now at the end of lap 7 in the Grand Prix, and if you can recall on the strategy, it said it was going to be a 2-stop race, stopping on lap 10 and lap 20. So very early pit stop here from the Toro Rosso guys, but the tyre wear was kicking in, and like you said, they thought they'd found a little bit of a gap, but no, they're just behind that gap. So not a great strategy call, in fact, from the Toro Rosso guys. But Verstappen has probably got a little bit of overtaking to do here, although he is on the fresh set of rubber, which will help him, no doubt. And they're now skipping onto the next lap, so we're now at the midway point in lap 9, and there is a huge train of cars here. And Roman Grosjean is very much struggling. The car who tangled with Verstappen on lap 1, and Verstappen just goes around the outside very, very cleanly there. And is he going to be able to get down the inside of Perez? Yes, he does. Perez almost scared out the move, then rejoining the track, hitting Grosjean, so very, very scruffy from the Mexican. But Verstappen is on the rampage at this stage of the race. You can just see how much more grip he's getting. And Daniel Kvyat, the driver who he's really got to be looking to outperform this weekend if he wants the Red Bull bosses to stand up and take note of his performances. He is just ahead of Verstappen, but he's a pit stop behind. So Verstappen just says, thank you very much, I'll go down the inside of you, Daniel. And, well, he gets up into now P11 after there are a lot of drivers, in fact, peeling off into the pits, so it'll be interesting to see where Verstappen ends up after all of this as he goes down the inside of Button. It is all happening on lap 10 of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Verstappen's up into P6 as he runs out very wide there, but still manages to maintain position nonetheless. So it's looking pretty good at this stage of the race for the Toro Rosso guys, so they'll be incredibly pleased with the way that Verstappen is currently performing. And there you can see Marcus Ericsson going into the pit lane. And Verstappen will come to complete the 10th lap of this Grand Prix now. And Raikkonen and Bottas, the two cars that you want to be looking out for, they're now on the pit exit. And there's Kimi Raikkonen. Bottas is already out ahead of Verstappen. But Verstappen is ahead of Raikkonen, most importantly. So the undercut has definitely worked for Verstappen and the Toro Rosso team.
Alright, unlucky Max. Pace was still good, but Bottas is still ahead. Let's stay on full revs and go and get him.
Well, the Toro Rosso team have given Verstappen a license to go and get Valtteri Bottas, so you saw him there switching up into full revs. And, well, is he going to be able to get to move down the inside? Surely he can't go down the inside here. Oh my word, what a move from Verstappen. A lovely move down the inside. He had no right to do that move. He had no right to pull that off. And I tell you what, we're going to have to take a look at a replay from the perspective of Bottas. Let's see what he saw. He just saw a Toro Rosso, a young 17-year-old, going down his inside. And, well, that was a beautiful move from Verstappen up into a podium position now. Well, I tell you what, Helmut Marko is going to be incredibly proud of his driver. But anyway, come lap 14, his tyres are starting to go off at this stage. And the team have just come over saying that the rain is about to stop in around 10 or 15 minutes time. So the thinking behind this is that if he comes into the pit lane now, and Toro Rosso call him in now, that they'll be able to put him onto a fresh set of inters, which should take him another sort of 5 or 10 laps maybe. And then he'll be able to pit for a set of option tyres at the end of the Grand Prix. And I believe Valtteri Bottas has in fact followed him in, so the Williams team are thinking along the same sort of lines as the Toro Rosso guys. A very, very slick pit stop. Got to be very grateful of those guys so far this season. They haven't put a foot wrong, a 2.4 second pit stop. And to be honest, that hasn't really cost Verstappen many positions whatsoever. Of course, it's cost him a position to Kimi Raikkonen and also to Felipe Massa and Nico Hülkenberg, but he should be able to get Hülkenberg over the course of the next lap or so. So we're currently at the halfway mark in the Grand Prix, and here you can see on lap 16 he has got the run on Nico Hülkenberg, so it should be a pretty routine move as we can now go into the final corner. Yep, he just goes down the inside. DRS is now active, so that is definitely what helped that move be pulled off. But nonetheless, it's still a fantastic move from Verstappen, and we're going to take a replay of it here and just see how easy it was. I mean, that Force India, it isn't a bad car whatsoever. I mean, it qualified inside the top 10, comfortably so, in fact, but Verstappen makes easy work of it, and come lap 19, you can see he's back up into P4 after all the cars have pitted. And his tyres are getting a little bit overheated at this stage as he's turning into this right-hander now, and he's lost steering completely.
Right, we've had a system shutdown. Press the reset button and hopefully we can get going again. Sorry, mate.
Oh no, that is awful luck, and he's just about got the car going again. He's lost the position to Daniel Ricciardo, but Verstappen has just had a complete failure. And he's in fact chipped off a bit of his front wing as well, which is awful, awful luck. And you know what, I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what happened I'm sort of going to come out of character for a minute, but basically what happened was my pad lost complete responsiveness at that stage of the race. And I could not do anything. I couldn't pause. I couldn't do anything. I obviously couldn't use a flashback or anything. You know, I just had to get on with the game and get on with what it dealt with me. Well, it was incredibly unfortunate. For the second race running, really, we've had a bit of misfortune. And here you can see Verstappen coming into the pit lane. You saw there on the graphic that he's chipped off a bit of his front wing. And it's just awful luck completely. I mean, he was going to have to come in for a set of option tyres at some point. But that is just not what he wanted. He's lost a good 10 or 15 seconds. Overall, sort of with the front wing change, running off into the gravel, just everything combined has lost him an additional 15 seconds, combined of course with the extra pit stop. It just isn't good whatsoever, and well, he's come out anyway in P11. He's got a lot of overtaking to do if he wants to get back up where he was. I'm not sure whether it's going to be completely possible, but the only good thing is that Verstappen is on the option tyres, and everybody else, I believe, is on the prime tyres, so he's gonna have a very good chance of overtaking them. He in fact goes purple through sector 2, so he's definitely got the pace at this stage of the race. And although it is still raining slightly, which is a little bit weird, the track is drying up at an incredible rate. So he just dives it down the inside of a couple of cars there, and Nasser's just been scared out of the way. So it just shows that he's completely got the pace at this stage of the race. And he's also got the DRS, which is fortunate, seeing as he has got that Renault engine in the back, which is far from the most powerful, let's say, on the grid. But anyway, he's up into P8, so he's pretty much as high as he's going to get, because he's got Nico Hülkenberg to dispatch of next, a car who he easily overtook, if you can remember, earlier on in the Grand Prix. But just look at how much he's closing in on Hülkenberg. This is ridiculous. So he should be able to get this move done very easily, maybe even as early as this left-hander, and surely he's going to get much better traction. Yes, he does. Hülkenberg on the hard tyres, Verstappen on at the mediums. It was a very easy move, and with 6 laps left in the Grand Prix, who knows, he may be able to go and get Bottas ahead. You can just see him ahead on the mini-map. So he isn't too far in the distance, and well, he can prove it. By lap 26, the start of lap 27, he has closed right up into DRS range of the Finnish driver, and now braking down into turn 1. You can see how much he's gaining, and Bottas, who I do believe is on the prime tyres, is going to be probably struggling at this stage of the race. Because, well, they're going to be wearing out quicker than Verstappen, because obviously Verstappen pitted a little bit later in the Grand Prix as well. And add that to the fact that Verstappen's got the grippier tyres, this surely should be another routine move, and just look at how much he's gaining. Is he going to make another audacious move down the inside into this left-hander? No, he isn't. But he's going to try and set himself up for a move as he tries to get out of the dirty air of Bottas, which is surely going to hinder him through this middle sector. But is he going to make a move down the inside? No, he pulls out of it. He's still got a lap and a half to try and make a move. But the one problem is this Renault engine in the back of Verstappen's car is not going to allow him to make an overtake on the main straight, because we all know that the Williams is set up to be very slippery in a straight line, meaning that he's got incredible straight line speed in the back of that Williams. But now we're halfway through lap 28, and this is it. This is do or die at this stage. Nico Rosberg's won the Grand Prix, but we don't care about that. Verstappen is going to be surely getting past. No, he's pushing Bottas pretty much through this section of track, and I think that is his last opportunity. He showed how much quicker he is at this stage of the race, and oh, this would be incredibly bad luck if it was to end like this. And he comes around the final corner now, and it is just not enough. Bottas is going to take P6, Verstappen in P7. What a race.
Fantastic recovery, Max. Really well raced. You're now the youngest point scorer in F1 history.
Well, there you can see confirmation of the race results. Max Verstappen managing 7th position ahead of two of his rivals, Carlos Sainz, his teammate, and also Daniel Kvyat in the Red Bull. He did finish behind Daniel Ricciardo, who's had a very good start to the season. And there you can see Sebastian Vettel and Roman Grosjean both DNFing from the Grand Prix. So bad luck for them. But Well, let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship now. You can see Verstappen off the mark, 6 points in the bag, and he is the youngest point scorer in Formula 1 history. Daniel Ricciardo has had an incredible start to the season. You can see they're up into P4 in the championship. And in the Constructors' Championship, Toro Rosso, of course, off the mark. And, well, it's better late than never, isn't it, to get off the mark. Obviously, no points last time out, but there you can see that Verstappen is looking reasonably happy with his result. I mean, it could have been a lot better, but it also could have been worse, seeing as he had that system failure in the middle of the race. But now we're going to take a look at the stats after the second race. So, Verstappen obviously out-racing Daniel Kvyat this afternoon means that it's going to be 1-1 in those standings, and out-qualifying Kvyat for the second race running means that he's 2-0 in the out-qualified bracket, and also he took the fastest lap of any Red Bull driver in this race, so that's 2-0 up to him once again. Neither of the Toro Rosso or Red Bull drivers have taken a podium yet this season, so it's 0-0 in that category. And there you can see in the all-important World Drivers' Championship points, he's leveled now with Daniel Kvyat, meaning that that category has turned from red to yellow, so that can't be bad. But anyway, join me tomorrow maybe for the Chinese Grand Prix. Like I said, leave a like down below, and if we can get 200, I'll release that tomorrow. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Take care. I'll see you then. Bye bye.